So, Mike, there was one thing I wanted to throw out there to start off our long awaited return to our YouTube video
Exactly.
content, right? I can see you already smirking because you're
It's
super
going to be
excited.
fun.
You're
Yeah.
wearing your Sunday best for our YouTube video
Yes.
content.
Yes.
I'm gonna repeat that a lot. This is, believe it or not, YouTube video content from the Paranormally Zone. The first question I want to throw out your way, nothing to do with the subject at hand. Shocking. We were talking earlier about various things. Usually, the instant we start recording any content, whether it be for YouTube, whether it be for our Patreon page, whether it be for the flagship, some certain animals that reside in your humble abode, they seem to feel like it's their time to take the stage. They're like, oh, lights, camera, action, we're on, and arf, 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 barky,
Right.
barky, barky,
That
here
does
we
happen.
are.
Hmm.
I think you know what I'm talking about. So a phrase popped in my head, and I was going to ask you if you knew what it meant. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure you do. When someone says, my dogs are barking today, and it has nothing to do with their actual pets, what are they referring to? Oh, my
They are
dogs are
talking
barking
about some
today.
hot, wet, sweaty feet.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, there you go. There you go. It is
I've
definitely
been walking
feet
for too
related
long. Yes,
or
I've got
foot
bunions
related.
and carbuncles and all that stuff.
Oh, oh
Carbon. Yeah, I don't know what they
what?
are.
Carbuncles? Are you trying like
I don't know.
barnacles? What are you talking
Bunions?
about here? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Mike is growing
No.
barnacles on his feet, so that's good. But anyways, before people tune out, we are not going to talk about our medical
Absolutely.
issues, right? Because that's a big no-no, big no-no. But it is good to see you, Mike. We are back. This is our much anticipated return. We're making this more
Yeah.
and more consistent, trying to at least, when it comes to YouTube content. We got a pretty cool topic to talk about tonight. Let's cut right to the chase here, Mike. We're talking about the possibility of murderers. This is going to get a
No,
little dark here.
we've never done that
The
before.
possibility. Oh gosh, hell no, hell no. Not any of our true crime episodes. Never dark at all. The possibility, Mike, of murderers, killers, awful people being haunted by the ghosts of their victims.
It
I
is
find this
fascinating.
fascinating. Now, I do have like a brief, like kind of a list of examples that we can kind of throw out there to discuss. But before we dive into those, you had mentioned earlier that you have like a not a personal story, but you do have something you wanted to share when it comes to yeah, this very subject at hand. Now, am I confusing you? You look
No,
like you're going,
no.
shit,
I,
what was I going to
I
say?
forgot.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're good. Okay.
Yeah.
Please indulge me and our multitude of listeners. It's up to
Seven.
about seven now, I think.
It's
It keeps
seven
fluctuating
ish.
between six and seven.
6 ish. Yeah. But you know
Seven
you made it
ish.
when you get
Seven
10
ish.
ish. Right around the 10 ish.
You get to those double digits, man. That's when the bucks start
Yes.
running
So
in,
anyway, this is in a
right?
book that I had many, many years ago. As I think I had it as a young teenager. But I was reading the story of Al Capone, and I believe when he was in Eastern State and he had this nice cell and everything, he had like a nice chair and carpet, and it was very nicely, plushly put together. But anyways, he would often be heard screaming in his cell, something to the effect of this one guy's name. He kept yelling out that he was there to get him or something like that. And I thought it's got to be somebody that he had either killed himself or had killed by his henchmen, hitmen, whatever they are, his
His
minions.
minions, yeah.
But yeah,
No, that that's something that's cool that you brought that one up because that is actually one example from the list I was going
hmm
to share from. Do you believe in love? love. I gotta stop. Every time I say Cher, she pops into my brain. Is that something I need to get medically
Well,
diagnosed, Mike?
it's
My
like when I say
Cher
carry
visions.
on.
My wayward son. See? No, no, I need help, Mike. I need help. Anyways, but
Anyway,
oh, Mike's doing something.
no, I
He's
was holding my
adjusting
head in
himself
my hand,
somehow.
hanging my head in
Oh yeah,
shame.
I gotcha. I believe, as the story goes, a lot of like the prison guards for many years. Well, I don't know for many years, but for the time that Capone was incarcerated, they would say they could hear him screaming
Right.
from his prison cell, saying that this person is here. And I think it was this person named like Jimmy
Something like
Clark
that.
or something. It was like it was uh, it was one of the people killed in
St. Valentine's Day
the
Massacre.
infamous
That's right.
massacre.
That
Exactly.
would be it.
And Capone claimed to be not only quote unquote haunted by this victim's ghost when he was in prison, but when he was out of prison later on, he still claimed to be haunted by this ghost. And then when he was reincarcerated, he said he was still haunted by this ghost. And then I believe also down the road he was talk about medically diagnosed. Wasn't he diagnosed with
Syphilis.
like some sort of
Yeah. I was going
syphilis?
to say,
That's what
but
it was. So which could have sincerely had an effect on
right.
his state of mind, but
But
since we tend to focus on all things paranormal, strange, and mysterious here, I'd like to think that this was an actual
yeah.
legit
Well,
haunting, but I don't know. Who's to
when you
say?
think
We
about
weren't
it,
there.
um, I just lost my train of thought.
How long do I have to
No.
think about it?
Okay.
That's the thing.
No.
You
Now,
say
what I was going to
when you
say
think
is,
about it,
you know, is it actually a ghost that has come back to haunt him because of what he did, or is it the own
right?
guilt in his mind that is making this happen? Along with the syphilis, probably,
That's the
but
thing,
you know, but
right? Right. Well, that's the thing.
yeah,
That's the argument
but
you
when
have
you
to
think
put
of
out
Al
there.
Capone, you
I
wouldn't think
mean,
that he'd have a lot of conscience to where he would, you know, worry about what he had
right?
done to somebody.
Which could lead us down a whole other track of some
Down the
deep discussion,
foxhole.
if you want to call it that. But if these murderers, let's say they were haunted by their own minds, nothing paranormal related, wouldn't that kind of suggest that they did have a sense of remorse, a sense of guilt for sure? They weren't so ice cold when it comes to the blood that ran through their veins, so uncaring, so sociopathic, they weren't Richard
Right.
Kuklinski, the Iceman, basically, who
Yeah.
basically, he killed
Yeah. He'd
as his
he'd he'd
job.
finish supper with his family and go do a job, and he'd be back for ice cream with the kids before they went to bed. you know.
Yep. He'd be wrapping Christmas
Yeah.
presents. Yeah, that's exactly true. I mean, that's exactly it. That's totally true. I sound like a 1980s, moron right now. Totally true. Totally. Wasn't
Oh,
totally like a
totally.
huge word in the 80s?
Totally, it was.
Totally it was. So I think it's a fascinating notion. There's a fine line again. Is it paranormal in nature, or is it more of a mental state of mind? They're haunted by their own memories, and it's absolutely just tormenting
Yep.
them
It can go
in
anyway,
any number of ways.
any which way, but loose.
But loose,
Any
dang
which
it, you
way
said
you
it
can.
before I did. I'm ashamed. Yeah, didn't that involve an
Yeah.
orangutan and Clint
Part one
Eastwood?
and two.
It was a 70s, 80s movie when
Yeah.
there was an orangutan involved. I think there was an orangutan involved in a
I
Little House
believe
on the
there was.
Prairie
Yeah.
episode, for gosh sakes. I was like, Mr. Edwards, like did he adopt an orangutan or
I don't.
something? I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
It, it's
Hey, but this
Yeah.
is the content you get when you
It was
tune
an
into the
escapee from
Paranormally
the
Zone.
traveling circus.
Oh, that's right. A memory just popped in right into my brain, a vision, because I believe that towards the end it was going to be captured and it was going to be
Yeah.
put down, I believe. But Mr. Edwards and like the Walnut Grove kids like saved it because it was
Well,
smart and it like
yeah.
pretended to be dead already or something. I can't
Orangutans
remember
are
what was going on.
hugely intelligent and very loving and
Well, right.
compassionate,
Well,
actually.
now imagine if that thing had to audition
Yeah.
for that role. We're looking
Not
for an
the ones with
orangutan.
the great big
Well,
wide cheeks like this, but just kind of a somewhere down back in here. You know,
yeah. I can imagine the line that was
yeah.
going out,
Yeah.
circling around the block, just full
Yeah.
of up and
Oh,
coming
geez, you're too brown
orangutans.
on that one. Next.
Yeah, get out of here. Get out of here. Now that one
Yeah.
there, that's
But
got
the
talent.
strength that an orangutan has is unbelievable. I mean, we
Oh
know that
God, yeah.
gorillas
Oh,
are
are you kidding me?
extremely strong, but it's like orangutans are immensely strong.
Okay, we're talking about the ghosts
Yeah. Well,
of victims. We're talking about um, murderers being
anytime you
haunted
can
by the ghosts of
throw a
their victims.
yeah,
Sorry if we went off on an
anytime you can throw
orangutan tangent there.
orangutans into the conversation, you're doing pretty good. So,
All right, Mike. We'll fly through a few of these examples here. And this is, I'm giving credit to listverse.com. This is a fairly old article. This came out in 2017, but hey, they're valid here. These are allegedly true accounts. Mike just sits
no,
back and he's about ready to take a nap, and he's like, "Oh, it's
I'm
story time with
intently
Patrick now."
waiting.
So I
Speak.
Okay, the first example I have is from, and all these people are terrible. They're all horrible. They all murdered people. So, to hell with them, okay? I hope they're tormented, whether it be paranormal or just they're mentally effed up. The first example is from one Mark Bridger. You ready for Mark Bridger? He was a great guy, Mike. He spent his days getting drunk and watching porn. Now, hey, if you do that, God bless you. But if you go out and murder
Yeah,
somebody,
that kind of
then that's a different story.
shoots it down.
But the thing is about the porn that he watched, Mike, it wasn't adult
Um,
porn. I'll just put it that way, okay? It was illegal, disgusting stuff.
yeah.
Now, a night after drinking, Mr. Mark Bridger stumbled upon 5-year-old April. April Jones was her name. Jones went into his car, never to be seen again. Bridger was arrested the following day. He admitted that he had killed Jones, however, saying that he was so drunk he couldn't remember how, and he thought that he had actually ran her over with his
Oh,
car.
of
He
course,
said it
that's
was
what
an
they say.
accident. Yes. He says that the alcohol totally blurred his memory. He
Ligature
doesn't
marks.
know.
What are you
However,
talking
after.
about?
Yeah, no
Anyway,
kidding. Right. However, after a forensic expert, Mike found fragments of bone and blood matching young April Jones' DNA inside Bridger's house. Well, police obviously rejected his story. They also believe that he assaulted young April in awful, horrible ways. I don't need to share all that. Killed her and then scattered her body parts around his house. The court agreed he was sentenced. Bridger was found guilty, sentenced to a life in prison. However, he told a fellow inmate, Mike, that each and every night Mark Bridger was tortured by visions of April Jones, who appeared in his jail cell every night. Now, that's the first example. Now, does that sound more like a mental delusion, or is that possibly paranormal to you,
I
Mike?
think
What's your vibe
somebody's
on that one?
given Mr. Bridger a little bit of view of hell on earth, and
Oh,
being
I like
visited
that
by
idea.
the spirit of this little girl that he murdered and chopped up and everything. You know, maybe somewhere deep in his mind he had a thought of guilt that was just enough to pop into that, that issue of seeing the girl or actually being visited by the girl. You know,
I see again. This is tough for me. I my vibe is that I kind of take glee in the idea, a little bit of Schadenfreude, the enjoyment. You get
We're not all
enjoyment from the
German, but I
suffering
know
of others.
Schadenfreude is. And what does that mean?
Yes, absolutely. You take
Okay.
enjoyment in the suffering of others. I'd like to think that he is suffering from mental breakdowns, mental delusions. I don't necessarily get a paranormal vibe from
Yeah.
that one. The next example, I mean, some of these
Okay.
could be different, Mike. This is from one Jose
Okay.
Ferreira. Okay. This dates back to 1982 when Jose was 15 and he met young Carrie Ann Yopek, who was 13. He met her at a party. They both decided to share a joint, and she asked him to join her in his basement. However, on the way down to the basement, young Carrie turned around and she said, "I'm starting to have second thoughts. I don't know if this is a good idea." Ferreira then responded, "You are going downstairs," and proceeded to push the girl down the steps. Now, when she sadly landed at the bottom of the steps, well, Ferreira decided to take advantage of Yopik's limp body. When he saw the opportunity, had his way with her, then realized
Oh.
that her neck was broken. She was dead. Ferreira now, being the
And
great guy that he
necrophiliac.
was, necro... Yeah, exactly. Like, did he not know that she was
I
deceased at
didn't
this
think
time?
heads were supposed to move like that. You know.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I just
Yeah.
thought it was a really good
She was
joint.
really
I mean, come on.
relaxed.
Now, instead of reporting this or, running upstairs and telling people, calling an ambulance and all that stuff, well, good old Jose, he decided to sneak her body out of the house and buried it under a neighbor's porch, where the body remained, Mike, for 17 months. Police had no leads. The case remained unsolved. However, Ferreira finally confessed to the murder after
Wow.
3 decades, Mike. The reason he confessed? He said that young Carrie's spirit had haunted him since she died. Now, he specifically said spirit. What is your vibe on this one, Mike? Another case of possible mental delusions, racked with guilt, hallucinations, or possibly legit haunting
Well,
that drove him to confess.
The sheer terror that these girls felt during this, and the negative energy that's generated. There's got to be some vibes there that's keeping them coming after these people. I think. It's just going to happen. I would like to lean more towards that than the psych instead of the
You're leaning towards
psychological.
the
I mean,
paranormal
not
thing.
saying that doesn't happen, but yeah.
This one I do. Again, we just kind of go with our gut feelings here. That first example, I personally didn't really get into I didn't get a paranormal vibe. This one, I feel more so. I don't know why. I have no logical argument or explanation why. I just feel like perhaps, I mean, it sounded like she was, as sadly most victims
Yeah.
are, she was trusting of this man. They're just going to go down to the basement, have a good time, smoke a joint, but she just got this bad feeling in her gut, and before
That
she
was
could do
it.
anything about it, he attacked her. Some very disgusting examples that
Okay.
I'm going to skip. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these are just
Yeah.
too tough, But a lot of them you can't deny they are fascinating, beyond
There's
fascinating.
something.
If you think that there's a
Right.
legit paranormal connection to it. This, Mike, is an example that I feel falls into that
All right. Shoot.
fascinating category here. This is about one Victor Amunwaga. Amwuga, sorry.
Amuga.
Victor
Okay.
Amwuga. Amwuga. Now, Victor was a taxi driver.
Did he have one of those horns that
And
went
this story began
Amuga?
back in two.
Sorry, I I had to say it.
Amwuga!
Um,
Now, see, when I did that, then I have
there you go.
Werewolves in London in
There
my
you
head
go.
now. Amwuga! Werewolves of London. No, this again, we are
No,
not. This is no
absolutely not.
disrespect. Mike and I just have to crack
Yeah.
jokes. We have to crack jokes, and we have to be ourselves because sometimes when we do these true crime stuff, even if they are paranormally related, it's, I mean, I think if you're a half decent person, you'll get
Yeah.
the same vibe as we do. We just feel
So
like
how many true
disgusting and just
crimes
like
have we done that
you
it's
know.
like I feel like I need to take a shower afterwards. It's like, man,
Oh, God, yeah, right.
and
I
knowing that this
know.
stuff actually happened.
By the way, we need to do, Mike. I think our next Patreon exclusive should be
I know,
a true crime episode because all of our true crime stuff is
right?
now a Patreon exclusive. So cheap plug right there.
Yeah,
But we got some good
we
stuff over on the Patreon page. Now, again, the story of Victor starts in 2013. He hired a taxi driver. I should say he wasn't a taxi driver, but the story, you'll understand why I said that after I read this earlier today. Halfway through his ride with this taxi driver, Amwuga decided to pull out a gun and killed the taxi driver and drove off in the taxi. No, but he soon repeated the same crime, and he became a suspect of these murders. So he had murdered 2 taxi drivers
yeah.
just
He didn't like
because.
the show. Tony Danza
Obviously, when
just
he became,
rubbed him the wrong
I
way.
just got what you said.
Really likes Christopher Lloyd, but
That's a great song that was dedicated to Tony Danza. Hold me closer, Tony Danza. Sorry, everybody. I apologize. Going on the run, Amwuga was soon joined by his second victim's ghost. Amwuga claimed that this ghost started to haunt and attack him. The ghost constantly appeared to Victor in his dreams and even slapped him while he slept. That's getting pretty specific, and that's, good. Good for the ghost. I mean, Victor deserved it, but it's still terrifying. This torment eventually became unbearable for Victor, and he told a friend about the murders. His friend called the police and told them that Amwuga was driving one of the victims' taxis. Police found and arrested Amwuga. He confessed to the murders and expressed regret
yeah,
for his
they always
actions.
go after they're caught.
Amwuga then, oh yeah, of course they do. Then, get this, Amwuga advised his fellow criminals to change their lifestyles to avoid being haunted by their victims' ghosts. So, hey, good for him, right?
Well, you think of it too. These people that are killed, or these girls in the stories that you're telling. Um, you know, they're gonna pass over pissed off, and it could be a
Oh, yeah.
total revenge thing as well.
That's a good thing, a good point that you brought up, Mike. I mean, to say the most obvious statement ever, murder's
Bad
bad.
murder,
Okay?
fire, bad.
Murder bad. Fire bad. Yes, thank you, Frankenstein. I lost my train of thought. Oh, so God forbid you or I were ever a victim or any of our family members, any of our loved ones. God forbid it ever happens. But that's a great point. If someone did that to me, and if there's an afterlife, I think I would be pissed off, Mike. I would be like, that would be my first initial feeling. Overwhelmed by sadness and, and just a feeling of missing everybody and so on and so forth. But yeah, I would be pissed off. Wouldn't you be? And you would want to let these a-holes know that you're still around and you want to make them suffer somehow. But then does that make you a bad person in the afterlife?
Hey, you were murdered. I mean, you got a little bit of right there. you know.
What?
Well,
I don't know, but you heard the phrase "be the bigger person, be the better person."
Yeah, but
take the high road, so to speak.
Death, that totally. Yeah, that totally
there's
trumps,
exceptions, is what you're saying.
No pun intended. Trumps everything else.
Everything else. Gosh dang it! Just because we're already at 25 minutes, got so many good examples
and I
here,
start rambling.
Mike. No, it's okay. It's okay. We talked
Well,
about
that
orangutans
was
for God's
good.
sakes. We're both at fault.
The highlight.
Yeah, that's the best part of this episode by far. We'll go down to the story of one Adrian Dow. Back in 2010, Mike, one Jennifer Stewart was axed to death in a parking lot. Her murder went unsolved for nearly 3 years. No leads until Adrian Dow confessed. Police were initially skeptical about his guilt because a few of his statements did not match the actual crime scene itself. However, he did know a couple of points that only the killer would know. Kind of sparked the interest of the police, obviously. The police eventually gave him a cardboard tube and told him to reenact the crime as if he was holding, like, the axe. And they say that his motions matched the murder. So I'm sure they had their, again, their forensic experts saying, well, if he did this, then yes, that would totally match the wounds and all, and so on and so forth. Dow said that he had murdered, this is where it gets beyond stupid as well. Dow said that he had murdered Stewart to, guess what, Mike? Launch his music career. Go Adrian Dow. He thought that if he killed someone, he would, quote, be a really good rapper. Because, again, quote, people talk about that killer stuff, referring to rap music. This Dow sounds like I
think he needs to be put on like 72-hour observation, something like that.
Dow said that he went to smoke a joint on a bike path after the murder. While he was there, Dow claimed he was haunted by Stewart's flying ghost. Dow said that he sees her ghost more than once a day up to today. I mean, 2017. I don't know if he's seen her since then. Now, say what you will about imbibing in nature's medicine. I don't think it could have caused him to hallucinate. I mean, I don't believe in that. Depending on what you've absorbed, of course, and taken in. To immediately, Mike, after murdering this victim, he says that he was seeing her flying around him, and there she remains to this day. What do you think about that possibility? Immediately being haunted by his victim's ghost.
I get this picture of Raiders of the Lost Ark when those spirits are spinning around and melting people and shit. Don't look at it.
Yeah, I gotcha. And Marion didn't. Indy didn't.
How did they do that? That would have had to been really tough.
I know. But you were saying, do you buy into the idea of immediate hauntings, Mike?
Absolutely.
Like instantaneous?
The body leaves at the point of death. Correct? So,
Sure.
that soul, if it had the freedom from the body and able to do whatever it wants to do or whatever it can do, instantaneous.
Right.
I mean, if I died like say, well, whatever, whenever, no, I won't.
Please don't.
No,
you don't have to do that to prove a point.
The thing is, though, at the point of my leaving my body, and at that exact same point, you will be getting slapped in the face so hard. You remember?
Okay, that's right. Cool. Yep. Mike has promised to do that. If by chance Mike breaks through that paranormal veil, travels to that other dimension of life before I do, he has promised to come back and slap the shit out of me just to prove it that there is something out there. So I apologize for dropping a swear word, by the way. But oh wait, you did too.
That does remind me that I'm still waiting to hear from our friend Linda, since she has passed away. She was going to give us ideas for episodes, topics from beyond the grave.
And that also sparked a memory too, Mike. Speaking of true crime, I've said it several times. Apologize to our longtime listeners and longtime viewers who have heard it before, but that, that little serial killer guy known as Ted Bundy, we've talked about his supposed ghost, his actual ghost, and we shared the story about the prison guards claiming to see the smiling ghost of Ted Bundy
Right.
immediately
Yeah.
after he was
That
executed.
was such a great episode that we did. Well, that was the second appearance we made on the Chris Jericho Talking Jericho.
And you made a great point, Mike, though. When we were talking about that, you made a great point about why his apparition would have been smiling. And you said because, well, he was
Yeah.
like, I'm
Right.
still here. I basically beat you guys. You killed me,
Yeah.
and I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love that point because he's just, whatever.
I
I
did say
win
that, didn't I?
again. Yeah,
I'm
good for
I don't have a
Mike.
soundbite
Yay.
of it. No, just kidding.
Don't tell me to bring up sound bites right now, Mike. So
Well,
it will all. There we go. I had to do that because Mike hates
that's
it.
right, Moist
There he
Patrick.
is.
Yeah.
Thank you. I deserve that. All right, we'll wrap it up, Mike, with one more example. This is from the wonderful gentleman known as
Terry
Terry
Childs.
Childs. Okay,
Terry
Terry
Childs.
Childs. Now, in 1987, yeah, the wonderful Terry Childs, the great guy that he is/was, stabbed a 17-year-old girl, Lois Segala, to death. He was convicted of murder and sentenced to 41 years in prison. I like how specific. Why does it get so specific? That murder's
I
worth
don't know.
41 years. Not, it's worth more than 40, but not quite 42.
Yeah, they should just round
Yeah,
it
41.
off. I know.
Yeah, I don't know why. Anyways, while he was imprisoned, Mike, Terry confessed to
course.
several additional murders. One of his victims was Linda Ann Jozovic. In 1979, he had kidnapped her from a parking lot and then beat, strangled, and stabbed her repeatedly. Childs hid her body in the Santa Cruz Mountains. It took over a decade for her remains to be found. Childs claimed that he had to confess to the murders to, quote, free himself from his demons. And yes, I'm referring to the article here. He said that he was haunted by the ghosts of his victims. Childs saw them in his cell, staring at him. This is when he was awake, boys and girls, staring at him and, quote, eating up his brain. He claims that Jozovic specifically had haunted him, however. However, she disappeared after he confessed to her murder.
I think
Interesting. Said that he was haunted specifically by her, and when he confessed,
I
no
think
longer
he
haunted.
drank too much of that toilet wine that they make. I don't know.
So this one, you're leaning more towards delusion
No,
than paranormal?
it's such a ripe story to be an actual paranormal event. Like they're in his room staring at him. Which is just a
Yeah,
frightening thought.
right.
But then he throws in, was it the feeling or that they were like eating up his brain or whatever? That
Right. Yeah, that was
yeah,
what did he mean by that? We need
yeah.
to do like a deeper dive into that if we
That could
could
be
find anything, but
the feeling that he was getting. Part of the physical feeling he was getting
mm-hmm.
just by seeing them. It's like, oh, my brain. It's like,
Right.
you get stressed out. You say, oh, I feel like my brain is melting. Stuff like that. You know, so
Exactly.
I,
Exactly.
me, I always want to go for the paranormal, but you know,
Well, of course, yes, and
yeah,
I
but
get that. I
don't,
totally get that. Again, to summarize, me personally, here's that word again, Schadenfreude. I hope all these murderers were all suffering, regardless if it was paranormal or delusional in nature. I'm glad that they were all driven nuts and suffering. Sorry, call me a bad person, but they deserved it. I want to believe that the majority of them are paranormal in nature, though. And some of those, I'm leaning more towards the paranormal side. The majority, I'm leaning more towards they're just cracking up type thing. That's just
Yeah.
me. I'm thinking that Mike, you're probably leaning more towards the paranormal on the majority of them, but some of them, I think even you maybe. Well, that last example, it seemed to me that you were kind of like,
Yeah. Kind of on
maybe
the
not so
fence,
much
but
paranormal
I don't know.
on
Yes.
that paranormal fence. Well, Mike, you know what? Man, this will end up being one of our longer YouTube videos. We're coming up on over 35 minutes now, so I
Yeah.
guess it's time to wrap it up. We
Well,
don't need to torture our
their
viewers
eyeballs are already
any
melting out
longer.
of their skull, so yeah.
Yeah,
What do
and
you
their
need?
eardrums and all that good stuff. So, hey, if you guys made it to the end of this episode, God bless you. We love you. Help spread the word of the Paranormally Zone, your home for all things paranormal, strange, and mysterious. We shall return next week with another Patreon exclusive episode, followed shortly after by another flagship episode. Yeah, we've been sticking to this new schedule, Mike, and I think it's
Sure.
working out just fine for us. Mike, sure.
Hey, I just have trust in you. I Otherwise I don't give a shit.
Thanks.
No,
I can
I'm just
tell.
kidding.
Now you need to get back on that social media train, Mike. I've been doing a lot of that stuff. The Paranormally Zone page has been really connecting with
Yeah.
the paranormal community on the Twit/X, whatever the hell you want to
Well,
call it.
I'm good at talking about it.
And I'd like to encourage you. I'm encouraging you on air again, Mike, to get your hiney over there because, yeah, it's doing good things for the podcast. All exposure is good and seems to be really positive so far. So if you guys are on social media, find us any and everywhere: Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, all that good stuff. You can listen to us wherever your favorite podcasts are found. And if you're watching us right now, thank you so much. Mike, any parting shots, parting
Of
words of wisdom
of
to our
wisdom.
paranormal pals?
No.
Oh,
No.
sorry. Any parting words,
Um
period.
hey, just keep your eye in the sky. Try to believe. Chill out, relax. What?
Damn it. Now I want to do it. Now I want to
Hey,
talk about
you're
aliens
due
now that
for
you
an
said
alien,
that. Damn
but
it.
we've got to do the true crime. I've been telling you for months, man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, I'll do it right now. So I'm captured on YouTube, Mike. Our next Patreon episode is
Yeah.
going to
And it's
be
gonna
true
be a good
crime.
one.
Okay, we just need to
It's
sit
gonna
down
be
and
a good
focus
one.
on a topic.
Yes.
Yeah,
Not for kids
awesome.
under
Well,
17 years
thank you,
of
everybody
age. Years old.
of old. Yeah, that too.
But you know what I mean.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Mike, any parting words
I
for our
already did
paranormal
that
pals?
parting word. But anyway, peace
Okay, fine.
out.
Peace out.